everyone, it's Samantha from Scrapmaster's Paradise, and today I'm doing a project over at the Marker Pop blog. It's blog.markerpop.com, and I'm going to show you how to make a little 3D box because it's 3D Thursday. So I've got my little image. I did tutorials showing how I colored all of these pieces and how I embellished the cupcake, so I'll have those videos as well. But to get started, we're just going to make a box. So I've got to measure this. Actually, I'm going to trim this down just a little. Okay, I've got this trimmed. I just trimmed it a little bit so it measures 3.5 this way and 3.25 inches this way. And then this is going to be on the front of my box, but I want some of this pattern to show around it. So I'm thinking here I would like to make this box. Let's see, we'll do I'm trying to count 1, 2, 3, 4.5 inches, and we'll do a little bit longer, 4.5 by 5. I've got to write down some measurements here because I don't want to mess up my box. So this is how I kind of create a box, and I like to show the way I do things. So this side is going to be 4.5. and then the bottom, or this side, is going to be 5, and then I'm going to make it skinny on this side, maybe like 1.5, so I'll score it at 4.5, then I'll add 1.5, and score it again, and then I'll need another side that's big, that'll be 4.5, and then I'll need another 1.5 side. And I just have to add all these up to find my score lines. And then I'll need a little bit extra on the end so I can attach them together. So that means Okay, so my camera was running out of space. I had to go and delete some of my movies off of the card. So I was just showing how I make my box. I have to write out the dimensions so I can plan it out. And so what I just do to get my score marks, because these are going to be the dimensions of the box, each little section here. So it's got the 4 sides, so I'm going to score it 4.5, and then the next score mark is going to be 4.5 plus 1.5, so that makes 5, 6, that'll be at 6 inches, and then the next one will be at 4.5 plus 6.5 is 10.5, and then 10.5 plus 1.5 equals 11, 12. So that doesn't leave me any room for a tab. So I'll need to make the box connect at the end. So that's not going to work. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller and do 1/4 of an inch off of everything, and that'll leave me with 1 inch on the end. So that'll bring it down to 4.25, and then that one would be 1.25. This will be 1.25. I'll make this 4.25. It's going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to take 2 halves equals 0.5 plus 1, that would be 5.5. Then we've got 5.5 plus 4.25, which makes it 9.75. And then we should have 11 here, so let's check. We've got 2.25 plus 0.75 equals 1. That adds to the 9 is 10, and that's 11. So that means we have 1 inch on the end. I'll just say 1 inch excess. I always plan this out. Sorry, it was to the side. I was trying to write it out. So those are going to be our score lines for the top part. And then we've got to have room to fold the box over. So I'm just going to make this box close at the top, and then we can seal it with resealable or removable adhesives. So it's got to be 1.25 inches thick. So I'm going to just leave going, so this is the score marks going this way that we just created. Okay, so we're working on this side. So I'm going to have some top tabs, and I'm also going to have some bottom tabs, so I'll score along and I'll be able to close it up. So I'm going to want those at 1.25, and then we want our box to be 5 inches long, so we need 5 inches, and then we're going to also need 1.25 at the bottom. Oops, 1.25. So we have to add those together to get our score marks again. So we got 1.25 plus 5, which means 6.25, plus 1.5 again, and that gets you 0.5 and 7. So these are going to be our two score lines here and here, and then this one's going to be our dimension where we cut our paper. We don't have to cut along this side because we're going to use the whole 12 by 12. So that's a long, lengthy process. It's a lot of talking and a little bit of math, but that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to just cut this at 7.5 here. Actually, I'd already cut my paper at 5 inches because I was thinking something else. So this is actually only 7 inches. So it's going to be a little bit different, and we'll just go ahead and do 1 inch at each side, and then the flaps will just not overlap completely. So this measurement's wrong, and we'll just do 1 inch on each side. Okay, I've got my plan written out here on my scrap paper. That's just some computer paper I had. Okay, so I'm using the Crafter's Companion tool. I'm going to actually flip it over. This is their box scoreboard here, and it has 1/8 of an inch increments. That's why I really like it. And so I'm going to score the side that I want to be on the outside, which is the stripes, and then my scores will fold inward. I'll show you in a minute. I'll set my picture aside, and I've got my list, so I'm going to score this at 4.25, which is right here. Okay, and then I need to score it at 5.5, which is right here. I'm running out of room on this side, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend it at that last score mark and bring it back to the 1. And then, because I have both measurements, I have measurements for all the way across 12 by 12, and I also wrote down each of the increments. I know that I could score it at 9.75, or if I bring it back to 1, I scored at 4.5. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to score it at 4.25. I forgot we took off 1/4 of an inch. I've got it straight. Scored at 4.25. And then I need to score it at 5.5, which is right here. And then we're left with our 1 inch. So I've got all those made. Now I need to do the other way. And we decided on 1 inch on each side. So I'm just going to do 1 inch here. Oops, messed up my score line a little bit. Okay, there's 1 inch. I'm going to flip it and just do 1 inch on this side too. So now our box is all scored, and we're going to have to cut some tabs on here. I'm going to cut every score line here. And these will be our flaps for our box closing and opening. I'm just feeling for each one of them. And this is going to be our place where they all connect. So I'm just going to cut this piece off. We don't need that extra piece. Same on this side. Cutting that little end piece off since that's our connecting tab. Feeling for those score marks, just trimming it. See, right there's the last one. And I'm just going to fold. And I scored on this side because the divot is the part that folds, like indents a little bit, and that's going to be the outside of the fold. It just folds so much easier that way. Just folding all of these in. The box is really coming together here. So that's what it'll look like. But first we're going to decorate it, and since the seam is here, you can see that that's where the seam's going to be. I'm going to decorate this side. So that's going to be our front right here. Just got this to put on it, and I also want to put a sentiment here and maybe a big bow. So let's see. If I put a big bow here at the top, then I'll just squeeze my sentiment on this same image. I grabbed my sentiment. It just says Party Time, and this is from the SP & Company Stitchery Do Banners stamp set. I'm just going to stamp it along the bottom here. Got some Memento Tuxedo black ink. That's what I use for my Copic coloring and for when I'm stamping anything in black. It just says Party Time. It's a good little birthday box that we're making. And actually I'm going to, oh no! Got some ink on here a little bit. That's okay, it's just on the side. Oh, you can see I got a little smudge. I didn't realize I had it on my fingers. Alright, so I'm going to make a little mat for this image so it stands out against that paper. I made my mat here, and it's just about a 1/16 of an inch bigger than my image. I'm just going to attach these. When I'm making anything 3D, I like to use really, really strong adhesives. And my two go-to adhesives, except it's clogged, okay, is the Tombow Mono Multi-Purpose. It's liquid glue, but a teeny bit goes a really long way. I like my layers to stay together and things don't fall off of the box since you're going to be handing it to somebody, and you never know how careful the person's going to be. And especially if you're making a project for a little kid, you don't want it to fall apart on them when they're being a little bit rough with things. I've got that. And I also like to use glue dots. I've got some of the 1-inch glue dots. These are extra large glue dots. I'm going to cut them and use them because I've just got 2 handy. Okay, and then I'll do this next layer. And I'm going to try to get it lined up on my front here, so there's room for a big bow at the end. Okay, so with these glue dots, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut them into 4 little pieces. Okay, so I'm hoping I'll have enough of these for this project. If not, I'll just grab some more, but these are the only ones I had handy on my desk. I'm just cutting them into little corner pieces. Looks like a quarter of a little pie, because they're little round ones. I don't want to have to wait and hold my pieces together with the liquid glue. Okay, so to do this, I'm going to put some adhesive on my little tab piece. I'm just going to use 3 on this side. You've got to rub it off of the little plastic piece and onto your project. Sometimes if you don't rub it, it will come off a little bit onto your plastic sheet. Okay, so got that. I'm going to go ahead and put some adhesive on here. I'm going to have one of these longer ones be my top flap. So that means the adhesive has to go on this side of it. I'm just going to, I guess I'll make this one the top one. I'm going to use 3 pieces again. Last one. Oh, Okay, so we've got our adhesive on. So in folding it, I'm going to fold all these 3 in, because I want the 2 longer tabs to be the ones sticking out. So the 2 tabs go in, this one goes on. Well, it's kind of like I need an extra arm here. So we just want to make sure that everything's folded the right way. We'll get this attached. And you've got to rub it a little bit to get those pieces on. And then the 2 tabs go inside. Long one, the other long one on the outside here. I've got it kind of squared up. Now you see I didn't cut it exactly square, so I'm going to cut a piece off of this outside piece, just to get rid of that extra hanging off piece. So there's the bottom, and got our little box. It's a nice little skinny box here. So with this top part, what I would do is I would just fold everything over and then use some Scotch tape or some removable adhesive along this line. But make sure to fill up the box first. So, got that. I'm going to grab some ribbon and we'll put a big ribbon on here. Okay, I grabbed a green and a blue because I wasn't sure which one would match better. I'm thinking the blue matches better. So we'll use this one. It's just a saddle stitch light blue and it works good. Pulling some of it out here. I'll get this on. I don't need quite so much pulled out, I don't think. Here we got a bow. I just like to cut my ribbon at a diagonal. These are not my best ribbon scissors. I've got other ones and I misplaced them at the moment. I've got that big bow. Oops. Got a piece sticking to it. So we can make this bow on the side like that, or we can move it to the middle. Any way you want to do it. So we'll pretend that's closed, and that would be a little cute little gift for somebody. Oh, there you have it. Thanks for watching. Bye.